Are you talking shift? We are. It's time for the We're Talking Shift podcast. Now. Here to talk shift, Loree Bischoff. We're Talking Shift.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again to We're Talking Shift, the podcast where we talk a lot of shift. Because when we feel stuck, if it's time to level up, rise to a challenge, make a health shift, a relation shift, basically any kind of meaningful, effective change in our lives, the first thing we have to do is shift our thinking. That is the antidote to feeling stuck. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I have a little request. It would mean so very much to me if you would take a quick minute to rate this podcast and write a review. It helps me out a lot, and in exchange, I will send you a copy of my ebook, The Food Print Plan. All you have to do is take a screenshot of the review that you post on iTunes, send it to me through social media, direct message, email, whatever. You can find me. And then I will send you the ebook. The Food Print Plan helps you create your personal blueprint of a healthier eating lifestyle. It's $20, but it's my gift to you when you leave me a rating and a review. Thank you. Now, on to today's show. One of my frequent and favorite guests, Dr. Tommy John, is joining us again today. Dr. Tommy specializes in sports performance and rehabilitation, and he is also a doctor of chiropractic. Like myself, he's all about health and healing, which is why I love having him on. He is always full of excellent health shifts to share. So let's jump on in. Welcome back, Dr. Tommy.
I appreciate it. I love jamming with you.
Sweet. So, my friend, how's the quarantine and the pandemic treating you?
It's good. I'm trying to keep my sanity and try to keep everybody else just open-minded and to continuously keep questioning and try to stay healthy when things might not seem so healthy. So that's my call, because I could very easily. My lifestyle hasn't really changed much. My office is still going. I'm not a real social person, and I don't really frequent places that are crowded. I don't have kids. So selfishly, I could look and be like, wow, my life really hasn't changed, but I can't do that. I got to look at how others are being affected for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Our lifestyles haven't changed really. The only thing that's changed is maybe once a week we would go out for dinner.
Right.
Other than that, my husband works from home. I work from home. We don't have kids at home anymore. They're grown and on their own. Although, a bonus has been our daughter who lives in Marina Del Rey. She came here and she's been hanging out with us through this whole lockdown thing. So we've had all of this fabulous quality time together, which has been wonderful. But yeah, like you, we're trying to be sensitive to, everybody's different situations and fears and just the quality of other people's lives have changed a lot. And we're just very blessed and grateful that we're kind of not really doing much of anything differently. But but this is a really good time, in light of what's going on. It's always a good time, I think, to remind people about, health things, health tips and advice and all that good stuff, but especially now. So I thought it would be fun to have you on, and let's talk about what you refer to as the 8 essentials to health. We can break those down and give people just, some fresh information they may not have heard, or some good reminders, and just keep everybody's spirits up and, keep them moving in the right healthy direction.
For sure. And this is actually, when you reached out, I was pumped because it's my favorite topic.
Nice.
Because it doesn't matter who the person coming in is. We all need to take an inventory of these 8. Like, these 8 are things that are in our power. There's a lot we can't control, for sure.
Yeah.
We surf the waves of life, right? But you can still control, what kind of board you have, how your ability to ride waves, you can control more than you think you can, and then you just kind of ride it out, and we figure it out. But you acknowledge what you can control and what you can't. Everything I'm about to say is within your hands, which technically it's like with epigenetics and everything else, it's coming up close to like 100% of your health can kind of be in your hands, so to speak, unless a meteor hits you or a car hits you. You know what I mean? Some kind of unprovoked something like there. But I love this topic because none of us are immune to not being able to see these things face on. And so I just want to give a brief background as to where I got these from, because again, I'm just recycling. I've created nothing. I'm recycling everything from before, right?
Yeah.
These are principles. Like, I didn't invent the sun. I didn't invent eating. I didn't invent moving.
He didn't invent breathing, Dr. Tommy.
Right? Like, yeah, I was the one. I thought about calling it something else, but this girl I was dating before, she's like, call it breathing. I'm like, you're right. All right. So, but I'm fascinated by like radical remission stories, or these healing stories where people kind of think are an impossibility, right?
Yeah.
And some areas of the world or some corners of the globe would call it miracles, or you're just very lucky. Can millions of us be lucky? Like, it's repeatable. God, I wonder if there's something to this. And so when you dive into some of those radical healing stories of healing, and some of the forefathers or some of the people leading the charge, way more intelligent than me, way more experienced than me, as I dive into their material, it came down to these 8. I was like, it really comes down to these 8. And if we don't stray far too off this beam, we're going to be sitting pretty good. And again, as you know, I'm all about trying to simplify everything. Keep everything as simple as possible, because it's so easy to complicate it. Let the body do the complicated parts. Science is still trying to catch up to what the brain's been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
You don't have to be the smartest person in the world to tap into what we're talking about. It's in you. It's free. And I love that in health. It's you. You got it. So the first one, I'll just list them and then we'll go into them. So the first one, a belief in something greater than yourself. Done. Like, whatever that is, done. Number 2, purpose. Number 3, relationships. Number 4, sleep and naps. Make sure we throw naps in there. Number 5, breath and meditation or prayer, like in those 3. Number 6, sun exposure or natural light. Number 7, nourishment. Number 8, movement. And all of those, and I've sat and I've looked at this list, and I take inventories on my own. I address all of these every single day. I try to see what needs improvement, where am I lacking, where am I excessively going over the top in, and how do I keep improving myself? And these are in order of importance, I believe. It might vary person to person. This is just my opinion. And you'll notice, like, that list, there's some, like, people have, and this is the experience, people have 7 and 8 almost locked in. They know how to eat, or they've heard how to eat, or they've been on some sort of plan, and they have some sort of exercise regimen. Like, those 2, everyone's not foreign of. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But they know.
But they're aware of it. Right.
They're aware of it, right? I know I got to eat well, and I know I got to exercise.
Yeah.
But every time I talk to somebody who's either healed from breast cancer or had some really great story, or they're older, and I believe we touched upon this in the previous podcast, like, they're in their 90s, well into life. Every time I ask them, hey, what's the secrets? What do you got? They never say 7 or 8. They never talk about their nutrition plan. They never talk about their exercise. And I'm like, that's so interesting. I keep hearing that, but they always mention 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3 are like the king. Your spirits, your belief in something greater, your purpose, and then the relationships you keep. And like, those 3 are so huge to the people that I've experienced with, or the things that I've come across. They're also maybe the toughest. It's kind of easy. Well, if I follow a meal plan, or I do my sets and my reps, but what, you want me to cut out an energy vampire relationship, or you want me to get out of a toxic, oh my gosh, this is so hard, then definitely exactly. I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple,
and there's
but
not
easy.
Not like one template that works for everybody. Like, you know what I mean? There's some pretty fundamental basics when it comes to nutrition, what you should try to do for the most part and try not to do for the most part.
Right.
And those things are going to work for most people. But when it comes to these other things, relationships, like you said, your purpose, your belief in something greater than yourself, there's not a template. It's very fluid. It's going to be different for everyone.
That's what's so great you just said right there, and you hit it on the head. Allopathic medicine, meaning pharmaceuticals, exactly. They try to one size fit all. So you're a diagnosis, and they try to put everybody on the same, it's one size fits all. You're this label. We're going to throw you in this according to this test. Is it working? And most of the time it doesn't. Well, there's still not one size fits all in holistic, in the natural side, where this list, it becomes your fingerprint. And our fingerprints are different for everybody. And this list is always changing. It's always a river. Every time you look at a river, it's constantly different. You never want to get stuck. That's your whole thing with this Let's Talk Shift, right? Like you never want to be stuck. There's chiropractic, like some of the purest forms of chiropractic it's called upper cervical chiropractic. And they do what's called pattern work, where they'll scan the temperature of the spine of the neck. And they have a program, and it looks like a wavy line. Okay. And when they scan, they establish this on day 1. They break your scans up. They do one scan, wait 30 minutes, one scan, wait 30 minutes, one scan, wait 30 minutes. And you're in like a controlled temperature set room. It's calm. And they establish what's called your pattern. If that line looks the same as you come in and you get analyzed, it means you're stuck. You're stuck in pattern, and your neurology is stuck. You want to see change all the time. And everyone's like, what should the line look like? We don't know. It totally varies person to person. So again, it couldn't be more true. Principled chiropractic, the 8 essentials, your whole mission with this podcast, your ebook, like whatever you've got, right? It's always trying to invoke change, just trying not to be stagnant. And so that's so huge to understand that this 8, because I've had people follow these 8 and they're like, and they do the check the box format, right?
Right.
They check the box and they're like, I'm not healthy. I'm not happier. What the hell? It's like, wait a second. Like
lies, lies.
Exactly. It's like the 10,000 reps to become a master. It's that whole thing that, well, no, it's intention with feedback during the reps to mastery. And it's trying to, and I need people to establish this, these 8, you have to find ways to link these 8. It's not a list. It's a circular pattern. Where 1 affects 8, and 8 affects 2, and 2 affects 7, and they all link together, quantum style. And so that's what we want to look at. So, but that's like
right. So we want to be able to help people integrate all of these aspects into their life, but understand that hopefully they're going to change as your life and your circumstances, your environment changes. You need to be willing to alter things and change them as needed.
Completely. And the body will let us know that.
Yes.
And like they're like, well, the unsuccessful ones who put in the work, they're like, I did this, and I'm not better. I know. But what you got to do, and they're like, you're telling me you do this? Now, it's hard. I'm not saying it comes easy to me. It's simple, but it's very, very difficult because everything's antagonizing this. It's earned through the challenge. The nature's growth is through the demand. It's through the resistance. It's hard. Right. But I'll literally will be eating meals. Am I thinking about spirituality? Kind of. I'm thinking about how this force inside me is digesting this amazing food and putting it to places where it needs to go. Yeah. Like I'm trying to connect there and like, wow, I might be breaking bread with somebody that I value, that I cleaned up in my relationships. Because I'm not going to sit across the table from somebody I don't, I don't enjoy, or I hope not.
Not on purpose.
Right. And maybe we'll eat outside and there's natural light, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like we'll breathe a little bit, we'll calm down, and we'll take our time with this meal. And it might be an hour-and-a-half dinner instead of a 27-minute dinner, turn over the table, move on to the next thing, or eat standing up, which is fine. But for the most part, eating's supposed to be a calm. So again, I'm trying to integrate all that around every single time you do something. You're thinking about these 8 all the time. You memorize the list. You go ahead, and I really want people to take an inventory, to write down and get very intimate with yourself, get very specific, get very open and vulnerable, and write out, what is spirituality to you? Like, what do you believe? What is greater than you? And it might be religion, right? It might be religion you were raised in. It might be something you're involved in. Not to pick apart anything. It's whatever it is to you. It's so individual, right?
Yes,
And
it could
that's
be.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be nature. Some people's spirituality is nature. I mean, some people's spirituality is being in completely in the flow of a creative experience or a creative mode. So I agree with you, but it's got to be. It doesn't have to be, but but the people that I know that I've worked with, the ones that struggle the most and have the hardest time finding that place of contentment or their version of happiness, they cannot connect. They haven't been able to find that belief in something greater than themselves. And they're the ones that struggle the most. They don't have that inner force to lean into and to tap into.
You know, it's interesting that you said that. I had a person reach out to me on Instagram who had just started following me with my posts and everything, and we connected. She's more sciencey than me, but she's also my science girl. So if I need to back up something, I'm like, hey, you got anything on this? And she's got it. Like she's that, right? So just an amazing person, lives in Pennsylvania. But she said, do you think people that are woke, like the slang term for connected, right? She's like, do you think it's like people like us? Do you think we have to go through a spiritual moment to get like this? Like, have you had those moments? And I was like, oh, hell yeah. And I've got a moment, it could be my brother's death, but that wasn't even, it was like getting lost in the Canyonlands. It's a story for another time. I mean, it's just a trippy story. But yeah, it just further enhanced that whole thing. So I don't know, like, it's interesting you said that, like the people that are struggling with it, did they have that event? Do we have to go through that event to truly see that intelligence? You know what I mean? Or can we pick up the little nuances in our lives where it's always present?
Right. And again, it just depends on, I think it depends on what is a person with their level of consciousness, where they're at, just that place. What are they capable of grabbing onto that they can feel, okay, I know that this feels right for me. And that thing, that intangible, that invisible but omnipresent force, it's there. There's nowhere that it isn't. But depending on, how you were raised and how you were taught to think and what you're open to, where your consciousness is at is going to determine what that is for you. And it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's something that you feel like, I know this is right for me. And I know that this belief or this faith or this whatever it is works for me. And like I said, we talked about earlier, for some people, it might be church, it might be religion, it might be a different version of spirituality. It might be, nature. Being out in nature is your spirituality, whatever it is. But I think, you have such a much better opportunity, it feels like, to thrive and to feel like you have, like there's meaning and you have a place and you belong when you have that extra something to feel like it supports you, that life force. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? I guess we're kind of getting way off here. Yeah.
No. Like, I don't know how you can't when you go down this line, right? Like, and I think one of the biggest things too is what I found with people or just my research, like when I'm acknowledging that and I feel closer to whatever that entity is, whatever that force is, when I'm outside. Like every time I'm out and it's nature and I'm looking at the moon or the waves or the pelican surfing the waves, or I look at a little baby, like the intelligence inside a baby, like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? My feeling is pure humility. Like I am such a I don't have power, or you know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm an integrated player, but I'm such a part of this huge, like I feel so small in this amazingness that's so big that I don't feel alone or lost. I feel like I'm a part of it all, right?
Like you are connected to everything, right? And that, what you just said is so important, because that, having that, whatever that is for you, it it's that thing that makes you feel like you're never alone, even when you're alone. And I think there's a lot of lonely people out there.
Totally. I think I'm a
that
confirmed bachelor.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Is this another podcast too?
Well, somebody's just like, hey, are you lonely? I'm like, no, I'm alone, but I'm definitely not lonely, and I don't know. Like, I love sharing with so many different people in my practice, and I don't know. But that whole humility, and then how I can't be just grateful that I'm such a small speck of all of it. And I'm just straight up, thank you. Like, I don't know how we just don't just spill out, thank you. Like, thank you just for this. For what? Yeah. The fact that I can see, or I get to feel warmth on my skin, or I feel a breeze, or I taste food, or whatever. Right. Whatever.
Yeah. I know. I get it. I'm like that pretty much daily, every night, as soon as I lay down and put my head on the pillow, turn the light off. And the first thing that I do is go like, God, thank you for this just awesome day and this awesome, you know what I mean? Whatever. And it doesn't matter even if it was a shitty day. It's still like, but I got to have a day. I got to have it, So I think that belief in something greater, like you said, and how you being mindful, so mindful of all of these things that seem like little things, but they're everything. And I'm like you, whether it's watching the sun come up or the moon rise, or, watching for shooting stars at night, watching the birds, the butterfly, whatever it sounds. I know people are like, wow, it kind of sounds like a Disney movie going on here, but but hey, that's what lights me up. And I think recognizing that is so important, because it doesn't really take much. It doesn't take much to make you happy if you can be in that spirit of gratitude about everything that's going on, and that you are aware enough to recognize it and just be in it and be part of it.
Totally. It just simplified, and no attachment to anything, and you're just literally content with the most simple thing. And I've found, on that note where you said kind of people listening, I found those moments in the DMV, or in a mall, or in the day-to-day that everyone's going, like, how? Like, it's easy if you're in a forest. And it's like, well, it's so ingrained in me now that I would be with friends or whoever, and they're like, what are you noticing? And I'm like, do you see that the way that woman interacted with her daughter, who it's like some small, fine detail amongst this noise. Mm-hmm. And I feel I'm most dialed in when I can go into those environments and I still see those things, instead of, oh my God, a line of 50 people. Yeah. I didn't study for my test. It's hot. What a nuisance. I got to go back. I have to work. You know what I mean? It's like, no, totally. What's going on right now? And so you start to notice those small things, whether you're online at Disney, complaining about all these little things. Like, no, notice the way that little girl is spinning around that pole. And see how many times she does it, and then see her try to get her brother's attention, and then see him ignore her, and then see them like just observe.
Because that when you're doing that, you're practicing being completely present and in the moment, instead of worrying about the past or the future. You're just right there, right now.
That's it.
I love it.
Could do a whole podcast just on belief in something greater than yourself.
Yeah, I think we just did half an hour on it. So part 2 next week.
And we got 7 more. Right.
Okay, so we'll come back around to that another time. I think we covered it really well. So let's what's number 2, Dr. Tell
But that's what you'll notice, right? These first 3 are just like monsters. Okay, number 2 is purpose. And this is cool. I kind of want to get your input. I love people's insight on this, because I've had people, you have to have a reason of getting out of bed. You have to have a reason for your day. What's your reason? Why are you here? How are you going to be a part? And it's all, every step that you're at is integrating the one before. So based on your belief, right, of something bigger, what are you going to do today? Honoring that power and trying to whatever. And here's where I got on some people. Mm-hmm. They've bottomed out so much. They've got so much struggle, so many layers. They're trying to untie these knots they need support. time. It's hard. It's emotional. Yes. Maybe their purpose that day was just to get out of bed, shower, and make a cup of coffee by themselves. Mm-hmm. Great. Mm-hmm. There you go. Like, done. Success. But all I did was shower, make a cup of coffee. But for you, that was huge. That was a leap forward. Yeah. You know what I mean? Instead of making it like this world record day where you made 20 contacts and you did a podcast and you sold 3 items and we try to make these huge, which that might be something for somebody. Again, this is a personal fingerprint for each person, but what I try to have is like a purpose, like a short-term, middle, and then long-term, right? Like and how does that vary, Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like it. And I think, again, it's a different template for every person, but I think, the purpose is, to me, I tie a purpose in with our human psychological need for certainty of some sort. Because, we crave certainty. We like to have that in our lives. And if you don't have any purpose, and like you said, whether it's just simply to get up and take care of yourself and feed yourself, or, if your purpose is to, go build houses, for people that need housing, whatever it is, big or small, I feel like if this is my purpose for, maybe it's today, maybe it's for my purpose for this year, maybe it's my purpose for, long-term for my life. And that gives us certainty that we have a direction to move in. So we have some sort of a compass point, okay, I'm going in this direction. And it helps us to not feel like we're just sort of, orbiting around aimlessly. So a purpose of some sort is very important. And it also supports the other psychological need, which is really more of a need, I think, of our soul, which is growth. Because if you have a purpose, and that purpose is, something that you are hungry to go after, to fulfill, it's going to cause you to grow. And as we know, we need to grow, because if we're not growing, we're dying. So I feel like having a purpose, no matter how big or small, no matter what it's not about the meaning of the purpose. It's just what it means to you. And that in that moment in time, and it feeds those certain psychological needs. It feeds our need for growth, so that we feel like we have value and meaning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel you said it. You hit the nail on the head, because I get very automated. Another day comes, another day goes. Another day comes, another day goes. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'll literally have to. This is for me. The number purpose and relationships are the two toughest for me, because I have to keep reevaluating. Like, what am I doing? Are you just trying to pay your bills? Am I trying to make X amount of dollars? Am I trying to change the world and really change the world, TJ? Like, what are you doing up until you change the world? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, sometimes my ideas are so huge. It's like, whoa. And then I get into just like a Tuesday went, made dinner. Awesome. Watched some movies, had some amazing dreams, woke up the next day, rocked. Like, wait. The whole week just went by, and I didn't even acknowledge any of it. You know what I mean? What am I doing here? What am I doing? What is this bigness of this? And it's, for me personally, I used to, in a previous, when I was doing my baseball lessons, when I was in Chicago, basically my Chicago life, it was very much about me. I was very giving in my profession and with what I did, but it was like more. You know what I mean? It was like get more, buy more, do more, be more, that kind of person, right? And it just was this never-ending pit. And
I think that's a season in our lives, though, that most of us go through, a season in our lives where it's about kind of building and acquiring and consuming, and building and acquiring and consuming. And that's sort of this phase we go through. So I don't think you're unusual in that regard. Right.
And what's cool is I just recently, like, I'm almost stripped of everything from that previous time. Like, I've sold off, or I've given away, or I'm done. So it's kind of cool. Like, and even people who touch base with me from that lifestyle, they're like, dude, like, who are you? And I'm like, what? But, you know, and it's not to attack anything. I'm like, I am so not the person I was back then, not better, worse, but don't we evolve? Don't we adapt? Don't we change? Isn't Loree, like next time I talk to you, you've totally changed. You've gotten, you lived, right? You haven't, you've shifted. Like that's
totally
the thing. So what are you guys doing? And I'll put it on them. Like, guys, it's been 12 years. What the hell are you doing? What? But you know, they had 2 kids. They have a job. They're in some debt. They have a mortgage. Right. You know, it's like, okay, again, I'm not attacking them. I'm not anything, but they'll almost come at me like, wow, you're so different. But I see where they're coming from, where they're almost like, I wish I could do that. Or I wish I just don't even know where to start. You know, they feel stuck, right? As you just said, like they feel like they're locked in. And then I will never give, I try not to give unsolicited advice, but when you care about somebody, you want to try to, you know,
of course,
shake them, right? And it's just like, well, I'll be here, but then we'll confide. It'll be some of those relationships where they'll come in. And again, we're getting into number 3 with relationships. Those people that either challenge you to be better or, you know, they have your back. They're your friggin' tribe. You can call upon them at any time. If things go to hell, we're going to the mountains with samurai swords, and we are going to survive this.
I love it. Samurai swords.
Well, I just ordered one. That's the thing. So I've been in love with, Loree, you know what movie. Have you seen The Bodyguard?
Definitely.
Come on. Okay. It's like one of the greatest soundtracks ever. Okay. So Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston, great.
Yeah.
I just recently... right, where he throws the scarf up and it breaks over, it tears over
like
the samurai sword. I'm like,
one of the most memorable scenes in the movie.
Exactly. So I'm laying there and I'm like, you know what? I need a samurai sword. So I'm not kidding you.
It.
And I haven't like splurged on anything for myself. And I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of defense and there's like tradition with it, and it kind of fits the vibe in my office. And so I ordered one, and it's taken a while. It's taken a while to ship, but it's out of the country. So anyway, that's where that reference came from. There's total sense in that. Anyway, so so purpose. I feel too like it's bigger than myself, right? And it's getting back to that spirituality. Like, what is my purpose? And not all the time, but it's always changing. That for me is the one that changes the most, in my opinion.
And I find myself doing a lot the same thing that you do. I'll be clipping along, and then all of a sudden I stop and I go, I stop and I reevaluate. I go, wait,
right.
what am I doing? What did I just do this whole week? What am I trying to do? Why am I here? You know, I stop and I question, and I have those moments. It's like a little speed bump. And then I have to sit and really evaluate, reevaluate things, and which is, I think, is good, because otherwise you're just kind of mindlessly going along and things are happening by default. So I think it's uncomfortable, but I welcome it because it forces me to sit and make sure that I'm still heading in a direction I want to head in. And the other thing before we move on real quick that I want to say about purpose for people, because I think sometimes people get so lost in the idea and fearful that they don't know what it is and they can't find it. And there's this fear that starts to take in or set in. And I think that I like to remind people, and I remind myself of this when I have those little speed bump moments, that really, can your purpose just be as simple as, I'm just here to experience being a human? And that, and it's just I have 5 senses. Well, maybe we have 6. Maybe some of us don't use the 6th one much. I don't know. But we have our basic human, 5 senses. And maybe, can it be okay? And that's what I invite, sometimes my clients that are getting a little twisted up in this. Can it be okay for you to just understand or accept or be willing to consider that you're just here to experience, and whatever you want to experience today is fine. It's okay. It doesn't have to be, a monumental mission. It just might be experiencing the most amazing cup of coffee that you've ever had.
Right.
That's it. Right. That's it. And it's good. It's all good. You know what I mean? And do no harm. That's it.
So, to be a good person, and that right there is so huge. And I feel like I've gotten there for myself, because I used to be that it's got to be these huge leaps. I have to make this monster change and do all this stuff now. And it's so things just slide off me. It's just, what did you do today? I saw a sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? I saw a sunrise and I helped 6 people in my office, and I'm going to go home and pet a cat that's outside my house. I'm going to make a good meal. Like that's pretty much it. And I'm completely fine with that, for that period of time.
Exactly. And the next day you might feel like going 100 miles an hour, and that's okay too. Yeah.
That's okay too.
Awesome.
But you said it, being a good person, like being good, which then comes back around to your belief in something greater. Like you wouldn't go against that.
Yeah.
Number 3, relationships. These are the toughest ones. So, and it's anything. I mean, I have a relationship with you. I have a relationship with my clients in here. I have a relationship with a crossing guard, with my neighbors, with my family, and then intimate relationships, however you go about that. So it's every interaction you have with everybody. That's what we need to inventory. And it's a lot easier and tougher to kind of control how much somebody affects us, how much somebody doesn't. I used to have like 1,000 acquaintances, right? Now, and I was just exhausted all the time. And it's like, and I've dated people who had thousands of friends. And I'm like, really? Are they just, but you'd see how many of them would be there for that person, or how many when they needed it, or how many, and they would just string them so thin to try to spread themselves out and be social and connected to all of them. What are you getting from that? Was my question to myself, and then to this person or these people,
Sure.
And I feel like some of them are the ones that make you maybe the most upset if they put you against the mirror. They make you kind of look at yourself. You know what I mean? Those are not just these fluffy relationships that are always, fluffing you up and making you feel good about yourself. But the ones that are like, whoa, you just challenged me. I want to punch you in the face or run.
Right.
You're somebody I got to keep around. Like, this is very interesting.
Yeah. Or maybe it's somebody that, shows you something about yourself that you need to maybe take a look at. And then maybe you don't need to keep them around. Thank you. You've done your job. Our work together is done. I never want to see you again, but thank you for being in my life and showing me, what I needed to work on. Not everybody is a lifetime, assignment. Some people are there in your life for a day, for a season, for a marriage, and then for a divorce. There's just some people that are going to be in your life forever, and some people that are only going to be there for a moment in time. And everybody, I feel like, brings a gift to you, whether you recognize it or not. And you do the same for other people. So we get to have the joy of the ones that are easy and fun, and then we get to have the opportunities with the ones that are tough and uncomfortable.
And I love that you said that, because any interaction that I'll have with somebody, difficult or not, mundane or not, I typically go to this, unless I'm distracted with something else. It's, what am I supposed to learn from this? What did they just teach me right there? Like, wow, what an awkward phone call. Or, I just saw that person totally help that other person, and I saw that. You know what I mean? Like, I really, because there's no random, there's no coincidences, in my opinion, because of my 8 that we've gone over so far.
Right,
like, everything's just interconnected. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, okay, what am I I saw that for a reason. What am I learning from that? Like, what am I going to get from that interaction, that relationship? But you said it. It doesn't necessarily always have to be the easy ones, right?
Right.
Those are the ones we learn. We can always curse our parents, like, oh, my parents cursed me, and now I'm going to be a broken child. And dude, nobody's first. Stop it right now. We've all had bad coaches. We've all had bad. But you learn about yourself during those bad just as much as you learn from the people who were wise, who affected you a different way.
Yeah, if you're willing to
Right.
go, how can I use this to benefit myself, to learn, to grow, to help others, to be of service? How can I use this in a way that is good and not in a way that makes me, a victim or makes me negative
Right.
and, just a, just a nasty human being to be around. You take your choice, take your
Right.
pick. And yeah, either use it or it's going to use you when it's a negative thing.
Let me see what you think about this. So I ran this by one of my clients, and this is interesting how he brought this up. He was going over, he was doing an inventory of the 8, and he was in his relationships and his relationship with his dad, a 50-year-old man. This guy is a 50-year-old man. His dad's like 75. And he's like, so what? I'm just supposed to cut my dad out? Like, that's what he looked at it as. And it's like, well, no, not necessarily. Like, well, but don't you think family is the toughest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or can be, right? Like, they know
Sure.
our buttons. They know maybe our deepest, innermost sides of us, right?
Yeah. Family's complicated. I mean,
right.
Definitely.
And then it was something where it's like, well, not necessarily. We always feel, and I've gotten this, and my sister and I have had these long conversations where we always kind of suffer more because it's family and we're supposed to put up with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, because it's family, I'm supposed to allow them to talk to me like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, there's been some people who've been like, well, she can talk to me because it's my family. And it's like, well, I don't know. You know, like, I don't really know if that's true. They don't get a hall pass, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that, depending on, I think it depends on how woke you are, Dr. Tommy.
Right.
If you're like a super woke, enlightened master, and you just are so up there that you can just let shit go in one ear and out the other, and you have got you've got like the super highest spiritual perspective on everything. Maybe that can work for you because that they know not what they do, right? But there are probably only a handful of truly woke people on the planet. And if you're going around saying you are or thinking you are, you probably aren't. I mean, you might be know more than you did yesterday, and you might have learned more, and you might be more enlightened. And it's not to, it's not to crap all over people that are getting there. I've been working on it for a long time, and I anticipate I'm going to be working on it until I die.
Exactly.
Again, it comes back to kind of being humble, and it's like the more you know you don't know. So I think when it comes to family, unless you're that person, you might want to have some boundaries. That's and we could get into another entire podcast about that, but boundaries and how you want to be treated and what's reasonable and when you have to give somebody a pass, that's like, you really have to be discerning about what's going on in the circumstances.
And I love that you said that boundaries, because I think the majority feel that boundaries are not there or not to be placed with family. And including me, like I was allowing more to happen. I'm like, and my cousin or my sister was like, no, you don't have to put up with that. I was like, wait, huh? And then, I was just going into and thinking about this. I'm like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then same with this gentleman. He's just like, well, it's my dad. What do I cut it? He went like from one extreme to the other, right? Like totally allowing him or cutting everything off. No.
Right. No, you don't have to go to the other extreme. And honestly, if somebody's behaving badly and it's a patterned way of being and they're behaving badly toward you, you also don't do that person any favors by letting them continue to behave that way without saying, hey, you know what? Can I tell you something? Here's how I'm feeling about this.
Right.
So, again, it's your choice. You can decide if you want to have boundaries, or you can decide if you want to be treated like a doormat. But you'll know what's right for you by the way you feel. Your feelings will tell you.
I love it. I love that you just said that.
Yeah, your emotions will tell you. They speak loud. Should we move on
Number
to
4?
Yeah, number 4. Take a breath.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So 4 I have as sleep and naps. I throw naps in there because I'm a big advocate for I like the 7 to 19 minute naps. But sleep is something that like I feel it gets put on the back burner. And I'll even leave social events because I respect it so much. And they're like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Going to sleep." And they're like, "Wait, what?" Not obviously if it's a special occasion, I'm not going to be this guy. But like, no, yeah, I'm going to sleep. I respect sleep just as if I was going to the bathroom or I was going to support some other part of the inventory we're taking. Yes.
Yeah. Sleep is important.
Huge.
It's so underrated. And I did a whole podcast on this a couple of weeks ago about the importance of sleep. And so I agree with you. And I think for a lot of people, I'm not a napper. I never have been, but a lot of people are, and a lot of people need to do that. That's just their deal, their body chemistry, their lifestyle, whatever it is, they need a nap. And that's cool too. If you know that works for you, then make sure you got to have time carved out to take care of yourself that way.
There were some, I of course have a experiential thing with naps. So back in Chicago, when I was at the facility, we'd have clients 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. and we go hard from 5 to about 1 straight, just client every hour. Boom, boom, boom. And then we have that little lull in the middle of the day, come back for afternoon athletes from like 3:30. And then I'd go to lessons or training or rehab or whatever till like 9:30 or 10. And then back the next day. Like that was my cycle Monday through Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday was totally different. So that midday, I'd sometimes crush out these monster naps. And it was like, I started to chart how I felt and I started to do a little more research. And I was like, interesting. If I sleep and out in like 90 minutes, I feel fantastic. If I sleep 30 minutes, I feel like crap. If I sleep 2 hours, I feel like crap. Like, wait a second. So as I understood and as I was diving more into it, the short power nap is like 7 to 19 minutes. And I'm going to explain why I say that time. It's just straight experience. I don't know if somebody wants to go research it or whatever, or it's 90 minutes because of the cycle that we get with REM, right? Like it comes every 90 minutes. So if you have 90 minutes, do it. Well, I didn't want to do 90 minutes because I didn't have that time. I wanted to eat or I wanted to do something. So, okay. Well, there's a time where if I have a time for a nap, meaning if I was coming to pick you up, take you to the airport and I showed up 25 minutes early, you're not ready. I just put the car in park. I could put it back and I could be calm enough to shut down. Well, I'll fall asleep. My body will shudder and wake me up. As soon as that first shudder happens, get up. And what I noticed in like 12 years, it's between 7 and 19 minutes.
Funny. That's funny. And I think I've always heard the average was like 15. So that's kind of sort of in the middle there. Right. Okay. Like 15-minute cat nap is like, so you're kind of got it. It's like sandwiched in between there.
And then I'd ignore that and I'd wake up and I'd go back to sleep and you wake up and your hands are sore and you can't like move. And it's like, what is wrong with me? Oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, stop. But that'll be it. I'm like, when you first shudder, body's waking you up, get up, go. And it's not always an easy transition. So anyway, that's where one of my longtime clients, the mother of 4, and she loves sticking me. She's like, once you have kids, and I'm like, I know, Jackie, I'm so sorry, but you have 7 minutes. You have,
Anyway,
But
I don't know.
Whatever. It's however you fit it, right?
Right. It's how you're wired. It's just how you're wired. Yeah. And I think, and there's a lot that can affect that too. If you're somebody that's feels like you need a nap because you're eating a crappy lunch, that's a different scenario.
Totally.
So that's a whole other chat too. But anyway, the importance of sleep cannot be underrated. It is people, I agree, that have irregular sleep patterns, don't sleep well. That is that can host a whole domino effect, I guess, of other problems. So pay attention to your sleep. Good one.
100%. 100%.
Did we skip breath, or is that the next one?
No, that's 5.
Okay.
Next one. Yeah. So breath, meditation, and prayer. I'm a huge advocate of meditation. We chatted about that. And then some other people pray, again, kind of depends on whatever you want to call it, whatever you're doing based on your 1, 2, 3, and 4 anyway. So here's my meditation schedule. Just me personally, first thing in the morning, I make my coffee, shower, do my stuff, and then I'll go down to the ocean side. I'm in Encinitas, so I'm pretty close to the beach, and I will sit and I will get into it. This is every morning. If it's inclement weather, I have a room in my house. I put on this Native American flute. It's like the wind flute, right? The wooden flute, and it is like an owl, a wolf howling. I light some sage or Palo Santo. I just have a routine. So there's a smell, there's a sight, there's a feel, there's a sound. There's a lot of sensation coming in, and body's like, okay, that's right, we're going deep on this. And I've been doing it since November 2014, and it is hands down one of the most profound things I've added to the 8 essentials personally that I could possibly think of. Like, this is just so huge. I feel we're trying to make it popular. Like, it sounds very California meditation, right? It's like we're so sympathetic dominant and cranking and scheduled and overscheduled and just burning that I just don't think there's any room for anybody to not try to add prayer or meditation in somewhere in their daily.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think for people that, prayer isn't their thing, and for people that say, I tried meditating, I can't do it, I can't make my mind stop, all of the usual things, then you know what? What's really important about this is not that you're able to, meditate like a Zen monk. And if prayer is not your thing, that's cool too. But then taking this back to your thing about breathing, then sit and just breathe. And just, see how many different ways you can inhale and exhale, and how long you can, inhale and exhale, and just sit and contemplate some things that are soft and easy. It's that quiet grounding time and that stillness that I think is so important, especially if you can start your day with it. If there's any way in your schedule that a person can start their day with that. But if you can't start it, and you can sneak away and get 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes in somewhere, really it's the quality of the time. And I'm a meditator too. I meditate and I pray and I contemplate. It just depends on where I'm at. And I have a morning practice too. I'm so lucky that my husband gets up before me all the time. So then he lets me sleep a little, and he brings me coffee in bed, which is just awesome. Yeah, he's so good to me. So he brings me coffee in bed, and then he leaves me because he knows I like to have my time in the morning to do my whatever, my reading or my praying or my meditating, whatever I'm going to do. And it sets the tone for the day for me. And so I highly recommend it too. And sometimes though, like I said, it's just, if I can't get my mind to shut down, like maybe I didn't start trying to meditate until after I had, a cup of my amazing coffee, and now my brain's going a million miles a minute. So I might not be able to meditate, but I can breathe and I can focus on my breath, and that works too.
I will say, when I first started out, I liked guided ones. I liked somebody kind of keeping me on path. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So, let me just see. And I tried every guided one, and there aren't right or wrong ones. You're just experiencing the whole thing. And so I found a bunch of clarity with some of the guided ones. And then my best, and I don't want to say my best because it's best to me, right? But when things after the meditation, or when clarity happens after a meditation, or something opens up after, the best meditations I had were the ones where I felt like I did it wrong. And I hear that a lot, where people are like, I don't know how, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not good at it. Nor am I. And that's what I find, where I find my brain going to an appointment forward, or going to the fact that I feel like my wallet's in my pocket, or, you know, and you're just very like, oh, distracted, but then coming back to breath and those distraction coming back. I feel like that's like a repetition in exercise, or that's like part of the conditioning, right?
No, absolutely. And that's what I think is, some people they think that there's a different reason and there's a different outcome or goal that they're looking for. But for me, I think a lot of it is with the practice, you're exercising, you're strengthening that mental musculature. So you are learning to manage where your mind is racing to, because otherwise it's always racing off in a million different directions, right? It's like errant children just running all over the place. And and most of it's useless places that don't serve you. So
totally.
Right. So it's really practicing managing your mind.
And the biggest part, I feel like the consistency of it, right? Like even if you don't, that wasn't a good one, but it doesn't matter. You just experienced it again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. Don't get caught up. No expectation, no anything. I have some really cool stories, you know, and everyone's like, I didn't have a story like you did. Stop. You're comparing, you know, like no comparison to any of this. You're not competing with anybody. It's just you.
It's okay. You. Yeah. Just the practice of it is so that then when you're actually going out and experiencing your five senses as a human, you can manage yourself. To me, it bleeds over into how you conduct yourself in life. So the more you practice minding your mind, mastering your mind and managing your emotions and managing your breathing, the more you are able to manage yourself in the world.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's how that relates as far as, you know, the way I look at it. And managing yourself well in the world is a healthy way to be experiencing life. So it still comes back to your health.
I thought it was cool. Something to add. One of my clients, when I first, the reason I got into it, woman I was checking, she had tennis elbow, and I was seeing her as a chiropractor and then trainer and nutrition, like all of it, kind of like what I'm doing in my practice right now. Well, she got to the point, pain-free after 3 months, which is fairly simple. That's kind of the physical injury part is kind of easy. Now it's maintaining that and then getting into some deeper stuff. Well, at the 5-month mark, I was checking her spine for interference. As a chiropractor, she needed an adjustment kind of off and on regularly for 5 months. Then all of a sudden she started to become clear. That's the point, is you want to get to where you don't need an adjustment. You don't need help from the outside. You're there. Like you're clear, girl, high five. And so I went Monday, Wednesday, Friday for a month. She trained with me and moved with me, and we facilitated stuff there, and nutrition and everything else. But she was clear. And there were days she's like, "Are you sure?" Because she wanted me to do stuff to her. And I'm like, "I'm not touching you. It's like drilling on a tooth with no cavity. I'm not doing that." Yeah. And she goes, like, because I'm not, that's not my job. My job is to find reasons not to adjust you, not just to adjust you. And that's pure chiropractic. So finally, it was about a month after being clear, she comes in one Monday morning, I'll never forget this, and she needs 3 segments adjusted per my analysis. And I'm like, wait a second, something's off here. What just happened? I just saw you Friday. Today, you are so off. Everything's up. What the hell? So I start asking physical, chemical, or emotional stress questions to keep it simple. Physical, any falls, any extra tennis, any accidents, or did you try something new, a boot camp of some kind or something? Nope, nothing. Okay. Chemical, drugs, recreational, pharmaceutical, nutrition, alcohol, anything new? And she's like, no, I had to kind of like lay low. Emotional. Now we're starting to get into the relationship question, right? And I asked her, and she's got sons, she's got friends, she's got just like every human interacting with other humans. She said, everything's kind of cool, but my husband and we got in this horrible fight on Saturday. This was Monday morning. On Saturday, and it was the first time divorce really, really became a possible reality, and it was brought up. And that was a bomb. That was a emotional thought, created feelings, and it changed her physiology so much that it shifted back segments. And I'm like, holy crap. So I'm going through this for the first time with her, and I'm first time in practice as a chiro. I've been rehab specialist for like 12 years prior to this, but as a chiropractor, I'm licensed. And this is one of my first aha moments. I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, well, what? I'm like, well, let me adjust you, help you get back on your way. But she's like, well, how do I prevent this from happening? And I'm like, I don't have any idea. And I was admitting to her, I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is so great for me. So I start diving into how do we deal with our subconscious and some of the emotional stuff. And as I went down that rabbit hole, hypnosis and meditation were the two that kept coming up. And I was like, well, hypnosis means I need to tap into the professional help from somebody, or I like meditation because I'm trying to facilitate empowering self-healing, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go down this meditation road. I'm going to research a little bit. I'm going to do it. And so I went through one with her. I showed her what I was doing. I was kind of training in it, brand new. I had no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like sharing my experiences with it. And it was kind of cool because she's like, wow, this is what I did. Or this is what happened with me when I was breathing. Well, then what happened was she fell so in love with it. She started to take her sons through it. And her youngest would request it at night. Mom, can you meditate with me before we go to bed?
Wow.
He's 9. It's exactly. So I got goosebumps because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I saw the bigger picture of how much we could affect from bringing in breath, meditation, and prayer, right? In our youth.
Right.
Oh my God. And you get them tapped into what it feels like to connect with breath. Then that's a habit that they won't break moving forward, that we'll always need, right? As a teenager, or as a whatever they end up doing. How great was that?
That is great. Right? What a great story. It's amazing. But and just pointing out again how much our emotional state affects our physical state. I mean,
totally.
there's not a disconnect there. It's all intertwined. That's a really good story. What's our next one?
What do we got? We've got
6?
Sun, outdoors, sun exposure, natural light. So huge fan of the sun. I know that if you put a plant in the closet, you water it, talk to it, and be nice to it, change the soil, it's going to die because it doesn't have the sun. Like, the sun is it. It is the light of lights, and it is so nourishing to our cells. It is what laser therapy is based off of. It is light therapy. Like, the sun has every wavelength possible. Like, it is why we are who we are right now. So if we can expose over 80% of our skin to natural sunlight, if the sun's out, now everybody kind of complains because we came from Chicago and they're like, we don't get the sun. And I'm like, I know, but it's still above the clouds and it's still coming through. But it's got to be outside. Don't you think? Like, I've had people be like, well, I was sitting in front of the window, and maybe in a pinch, but we got to go on the other side of the window.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I just don't know that there's anything as far as the natural resources that we have, like, fresh air and sun, that's better for you health-wise. Sitting on inside and getting the sun through the window, that's plan B. And sometimes you got to go to plan B. But plan A, definitely, if you can even just get out there for 15 or 20 minutes, if that's all you can do. But I am a big believer in sun. I don't believe in sunscreen unless you have skin issues or you're going to be out in the sun for, like an entire day. It's different. If I'm going to go out and ride on, if we're going on the motorcycle ride for hours and hours and hours, I'll coat some sunscreen on. But for the most part, I think we're designed to be able to tolerate a certain amount of sun. I don't question that. I think we are. And, all of us maybe to a little bit of a different degree. So, use your head and manage yourself. But for the most part, I do think that, you got to get out and you got to get some sun. Definitely. It's good for health.
I've had people I've become a big supporter of this. The reason I moved out here was nature. It was natural reasons, but they're like, what about, or people were DMing me and we're like, oh, I love the whole thing you're talking about, natural light. Or Aaron Chang is an artist, local artist in San Diego, and he shoots natural, like wave or sunsets stuff like that. And hospitals are contracting him to bring in his art to their floors, almost like bringing nature in from the outside. Now, if that doesn't show you kind of, that should be one of the healthier places on the planet is a hospital, right? Or trying to invoke health, and it doesn't really, we're kind of missing that mark, but that's fine. But I hear about these efforts, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Now, if they just like knock down the walls or open the roof or change their food or, but they used to. The Spanish flu, they did outdoor therapy. They brought everybody outside on these beds, and they let sunlight hit them. And it was like this radical effect that they had, that I had people DMing me, like, I brought my mother out, she's got Alzheimer's, or they would wheel out patients just to experience the light. And you're not telling them to expose, and breathe. They're just being in it, in it. Just put the plant outside, but we are the plant,
I love that. It's true. It's true. I think that sunshine is the best, one of the very best things, probably at the top of the list that we can do for our health. I mean, and if it's not sunny, it's still there. Go outside. It'll come through the clouds. It'll reach you. Don't worry, people. It'll get to you.
You know what's cool? I was visiting my sister and brother-in-law. My brother-in-law used to play football in the NFL. Every off season, they would take a vacation. They would go to San Diego. This is when we were all in Chicago. And where did they go? Randomly is where they would go to Moonlight Beach and Encinitas, which is now where I live, which is crazy because it all randomly ended up that way. And my sister now to this day is livid. She's like, I can't effing believe you live in Moonlight Beach and we used to vacation there. I'm like, okay, change it. Like, whatever, right? So, but at the time, I'll never forget it. We were at Moonlight Beach and there's this little slope of sand. And I saw this guy, the sunset was happening, and this guy came and he was business wear, right? He had a suit jacket was off, tie was loosened, socks and shoes were off, his pants were rolled up. He was just sitting on the hill, staring at the sun. I'll never forget his body language and how, I don't know if he was married, if he was going home to his family or what, but he just looked like, I am here to do this for me. I'm like planting myself into this hill and I'm going to stare out at this event that literally, Loree, I've literally seen husbands and wives murderously arguing at each other, kids bickering, somebody complaining on the phone about something, like the worst parts of humanity, right? Like just awful. And then as soon as that sun starts to set, everybody shuts up, turns unprovoked, turns and looks. Like there's no like director, or is there a director, right? If we got to,
right. Right, or is like, there?
Hey, check me out. Hey, everybody, shut up and focus right here. Look at the light.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Everyone goes into like this calm. Everybody. It's like the greatest show on the planet is sunrise or sunset, and that's why I have so many salt lamps in my office. And they say the best lighting. I have salt lamps in my apartment. That's all that lights my house, and then all that lights my office are salt lamps. They're like, why? I'm like, because the healthiest light's sunrise, sunset. Next healthiest is flame, but we can't have flame because this isn't like Castle, although I would love it to have just like a lantern or candles. Like, it's so cool in the movies. It's just not possible.
It's risky, though.
Exactly, right? Like, what kind of insurance would I have for that one? But so I have like salt lamps. And why? Because it's that same glow, right? It's that orange, yellow, red hue that comes from, and I go across the street. I live in Encinitas, and right across the street is the Overlook, and everybody goes as if it's, it's like visiting their old grandmother. Got to go say goodnight to grandmother before we go to bed. Everybody comes out.
Go pay homage.
Oh my God! And I just get so excited because it taps back into 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? Like these all kind of tie in, right? And
sure.
This is the part that I almost get goosebumps when I'm sitting staring at the sunset. It's insane.
No, I get it. We're the same way. Same with the
natural
moon.
light.
Yep.
Moon is sick, and it's full. It's coming up full tonight, right? Or soon here.
Yeah, I think so. It looked like it was almost completely full last night. It was so bright and beautiful. But yes, sunshine, nature. Okay, so all good for health. We got
it. Natural light. Now the last two, nutrition and movement. So nutrition, you've got it. You got an ebook out. I'm not a big diet follower as far as specific diet, but there's principles, right? I just believe there's principles. And if we nourish ourselves, the principles are laws. I love just real food from local farms, homemade. I don't know what the ratios are going to be. I don't know what your digestion is going to allow. I just know buying from a local farm, connecting to things grown in really good soil, animals treated humanely, connecting with people. I do love the homemade sense because I love knowing that I made that bite.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I know what spice went in. I know what, and I feel like there's some sort of energetic exchange with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think so too. We are big on cooking at home. We cook here. We rarely eat out, especially in Cody, Wyoming, because there's not that many choices anyway.
Right.
So, but yeah, nourishing yourself is, that's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that. Whether or not they're doing their best with it is another question, but everyone kind of knows that what they need to do. Now, whether or not they're doing the right things, that's a whole other thing, because some people don't know what the right things are. They think they're doing the right things and they're not. But clearly, the more that you can give your body what it needs, because it's a self-healing organism. And so when you nourish it properly and you don't pollute it with toxic substances, it will take care of you. It will take care of itself. It's just that cool. It came with the ability to heal itself. So yes, nourish yourself well, and your body will really do what it's designed to do without you having to do a whole lot. Wow, we covered a lot of ground there, everybody. You should be well equipped to up-level your health after that conversation. As always, Dr. Tommy has delivered just some amazing tips and advice to help you stay healthy. I just love talking to him. We always get a lot of really great stuff coming out for you. And a lot of them you've probably heard before, but are you putting them all into practice? Knowing is just not good enough, right? You have to do it, and you have to do it consistently. So take it and run with it. And also, Dr. Tommy was with us on episodes 73 and 77 with tons of great stuff. So if you missed those, make sure you go back and check them out. If you would like some guidance, making some healthy shifts in your diet, please do yourself a favor. Check out my food print plan. You'll find it on my website, LoreeBischoff.com. The food print plan helps you create your personal blueprint of a healthier eating lifestyle. Helps you know what to do and why to do it. It contains some of the tools that I use with my private clients and some cool templates to help you build and streamline a plan. And like I said in the beginning of the show, this ebook sells for $20 on my website, but I am going to make it a gift to you in exchange for your review. All you have to do is send me a screenshot of your review once you've posted it on iTunes, and I will happily email you your copy. And if managing your aging process well is important to you, be sure to grab a free download on the subject while you're there on the website. It's as easy as clicking a button and boom, instant great info at your fingertips. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't keep all of this great info to yourselves. Make sure to share the link with your friends. Until next week, stay feisty, my friends. Stay healthy and go make some epic shift happen in your life. You too, Gary V.
The preceding podcast was a TJ DeSantis production. Comments, questions, and inquiries can be directed to DeSantisProd@gmail.com.